I think what's important though is how both hard and soft exist together. It's not one or the other. And I think it's also the fact that if you can weave hospitality through the whole piece, we're going to end up giving a better workplace experience to our clients.
Welcome to Connected FM, a podcast connecting you to the latest insights, tools, and resources to help you succeed in facility management. This podcast is brought to you by IFMA, the leading professional association for facility managers. If you are ready to grow your network and advance in your career, go to ifma.org to get started. Today we're joined by Mauro Ortelli, the Managing Director at 1440, Jacqueline van Beek, the Managing Director at Compass Group Netherlands, and David Hogland, the President at ESFM USA. Together, they delve into topics like the potential shift from soft to hard services, the impact of COVID-19 on the FM industry, as well as challenges and opportunities presented by the journey to net zero. Now, let's get into it.
Hey folks, ready to take your facility management game to the next level? Join us at World Workplace Europe on March 6 to 7 in Rotterdam, Netherlands. It's the go-to spot for the freshest industry scoop, innovative solutions, and awesome networking opportunities. Don't miss a chance to boost your career. Register now at worldworkplaceeurope.ifma.org.
Before we kick off, Jacqueline, be great if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. From Beek, I'm a managing director for the Netherlands with Compass Group and with the company now for 3 years.
Fantastic. David?
And David Hogland, I'm with Compass Group North America, delivering support services across the US. I've actually been with Compass for 20 years now, started in the UK and somehow ended up in the States. I was asked to come up with a funny fact. I actually started life as a pipe fitter welder. So you could say that I've been in this industry since the age of 16 when I started.
Wow.
And now I'm getting close to 60, which is getting rather scary to be honest.
Still years to go, David. Don't worry. And of course, my name is Mauro Ortelli, so I'm the Managing Director of 1440, which is the support services business in the UK. So we've got half an hour to have a chat about support services, and I thought, we could probably cover a couple of topics. First and foremost, soft services versus hard services, and why we focus on soft services, but why we see a real opportunity in the hard services arena as well. So I guess, Jacqueline, in the Netherlands, your focus foremost is soft services.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, do mainly soft services and like 27 different services we do. And in the state of maturity we are now, we are thinking about doing hard services as well to be also for the client a single point of contact. But it's not in our DNA yet. So if we are going in this way, we are partnering with parties that are credible on this side. But for now, we're just doing soft services at around and about 30 clients.
Right. Okay. And then David, for yourself in the States?
So I think both can exist together. The irony is that as an organization, we started with the soft services. Then over time, as we've gained experience and as we've gone through that maturity curve, then we've gained the experience in the hard services. And now, as an offer to our clients, we're offering the whole IFM experience in the US. I think what's important though is how both hard and soft exist together. It's not one or the other. And I think it's also the fact that if you can weave hospitality through the whole piece, we're going to end up giving a better workplace experience to our clients.
No, absolutely. And I think actually it's also very similar in the United Kingdom where, our heritage is catering and hospitality. And I think that's the USP really for all of us is that, we approach facilities management and support services. The different terminology is used in different countries around the globe, but it's fundamentally built around our hospitality and delivering facilities management support services with that sort of customer service ethos, I think is really important. I guess a further question to you, David, in terms of, your business in North America, how have you sort of grown it? How have you grown that business over time?
I think it's, again, we've developed those experiences by that going through that learning curve and that maturity curve from just soft services into hard services. But as we've gained new clients, as we've bolted on clients, and as we've expanded our experience and the services we offer to clients, it's enabled us then to generate this center of excellence group that again has enabled us to show the experience that we have and the professional side of what we do and the experience we do to our clients. And that has led to the growth. And actually, over the last 4 or 5 years, the growth has been kind of double digit through the business. And I think some of that is also back to what I said earlier around the hospitality. I think pre-COVID, there was this workplace experience was really starting to get kind of some momentum behind it, that all of a sudden COVID came and everybody went to work from home. And I was just in a session now where they were talking about the whole return to office and how do we get back people into the office and how people are actually more productive at home and how can we get them as productive in the office. So I think hospitality and a re-engagement in the workplace experience is really going to be what's needed. And organizations like ours are ideally positioned. And that's been, again, part of this growth trajectory for us, is being around this hospitality and that being within our DNA.
Yeah, but I also think that it's not either or. It's just going together and see what's the question of the client, what are his needs, and how can you make a unique propositioning, and how can we add value to the client in what he wants to achieve. And then you can see what arrangement is best for the client, or whether it's hard or whether it's soft. And then I agree that the connecting dots are our hospitality DNA, which we have on food, which makes the difference.
I think we're seeing signs of it now where, they've gone through that maturity curve where they've single sourced services. They've bundled the services. They've gone down the whole IFM, TFM route, whatever we want to call it. And now they're going, okay, I'm still not getting the value.
Exactly.
What I need is those experts that are going to be able to deliver the business. And, depending on where you are in the world, those experts might be back to single sourcing because that's the maturity of the business in that country. Or it might be into the bundling of the soft. It might be in the bundling of the hard.
Absolutely. But I think fundamentally, the most important thing is this hospitality heritage, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, my experience, starting off before I moved into facilities management was in the hotel industry. And I think we're all on the same page that we're effectively running buildings as hotels without beds. So this is providing that
absolutely. That's
hospitality,
exactly what
hotel
is.
service, managing those harder and softer elements, but actually not having the bedrooms that we need to service as well, which is a godsend. In terms of sort of trends within the industry, I mean, what are you seeing, David, in North America?
Technology. We've got the whole, and I know we're going to come on to it, but the whole piece around sustainability and the environment.
Yeah.
And, the more I look at that, it's not about it being a sprint. It's about a marathon because that's going to be with us for the next 20, 30 years. Diversity and inclusion is massive in particularly in North America, as you can imagine, but I think it's the same around the world now, that we need to have a lot more diversity and inclusion in the industry. And I think, and people don't talk about this a lot, but I'm really seeing now, and maybe it's just because of where I came from. I started life as an apprentice. I think we're seeing a real skill shortage, particularly when you look at the trades. So, we've got people that left school like I did in the 80s that went to and got an apprenticeship, learned a trade, then went and applied that trade in their working careers. We've got now where people were coming out of college and out of school in the 90s and in the 2000s, basically, instead of going to trade school, they're going to work for the technology companies like Google or Facebook or whomever. And now all of a sudden we've got a 20-year gap where those tradespeople are starting to retire. And there's nobody to fill the gap now. So, I mean, I was talking to actually my wife's parents at the weekend, because my father-in-law is from a building background. And he was telling me that now bricklayers in London can earn up to £100,000 a year as a bricklayer. I mean, You think about coming out of trade school and being able to go into a role like that. And instead of going into a 30,000 technology job, I mean, it's really becoming desirable, but you've got to go through the training. And for me, we've got ESG, we've got D&I, but I do think there's a skills gap that's really going to be painful in the years to come.
And then, Jacqueline, how do you think support services plays out in your country? I mean, how is it considered as a service? Is it understood, do you think?
Yeah, it's an understood business model. And I think due to COVID, it even became more serious because when COVID hit us and also all caterers, then revenue dropped and we all survived due to our services propositioning. Because, well, everything had to be cleansed and everything had to be more intensive than there before. So that really also was a shift within our own organization in the importance of facilities. And what you see as well is that data is getting even more important because it's not only services, but how can you prove and what's the effect and how does it add on in doing these services. And it's all about, like food as well, it's all about people. So I think our approach is not only about bricks and about making savings, it's about people and how can we get the touch points clear from the moment they leave the house and they go into the working environment. How can we make those touch points lighter and enjoyable from the moment they leave till they get home? And I think also COVID helped in making this more important, in having the workplace as a second home and a place that you can enjoy and be inspired. And by delivering food, but also delivering services, we can really make a difference there.
Absolutely. And I think you touched on something that's really important. We are the glue. I think people that provide support services or facilities management are the glue that holds those businesses together, with a kind of silent service that's unseen in many aspects. I think following the pandemic, certainly in cleaning, we were expected to be more overt and upfront, so people saw what we were doing and people felt more secure. But to your point, it is about all of those touch points through every minute of the day. In terms of, I guess we touched on trends, but one of the big things that we're seeing certainly today at the conference is some robotics as well. I mean, what's your view? Do you have a particular view on robotics, David? I'm not going to ask you to give me a technical spiel on something.
I'm not going to do the robot dance either. So,
or the robot dance. But I mean, do you have a particular view on it? I mean, I know I do.
I think there's a place, but I think also we're trying to overachieve with robotics. And, you can never replace that human touch.
Exactly.
You need to have, whether it's in the food service, whether it's in, the other services we deliver, there's always going to be a need for that human experience. Again, we're hospitality. It's about interaction with people. Robots don't interact with people in the same way as humans do. So I think there's a place for robotics, but I don't think we can become overly dependent on them.
No, and I think, Jacqueline, you're on the real start of that journey, aren't you? So I won't ask you that question specifically. I know in the UK, a bit like yourself, David, that there is a mindset that, robots are the panacea that will fix my problems. I think, the cost of that technology is probably still a little bit too high to really drive out lots of savings, but certainly to take away from the mundane tasks and to add value to what the human being can do, the cleaning operative that's working, it'll certainly provide a benefit, so those long corridors, those big logistics centers, that big bit of kit can go up and down in a safe way, deliver some excellent cleaning. But actually then our individuals, our staff members, that are working for our clients can then add that added value. And I think we're all on that same page.
And I also think it goes back to post-pandemic. We still, as people return to the office, as people return to their work environment, and you touched on it, Mauro, I think there's this whole piece around now you have to be seen. So the building users seeing touch points being cleaned regularly, taken care of. It's not just, you can't just now have a building that's clean and meets the KPIs. I mean, that doesn't cut it anymore. It's about how do we create healthy buildings.
Exactly.
And that's what will also help drive people back to the office. And I don't think robots actually do that.
No, but I also think that robots will never replace human beings. And we do have a scarcity of personnel for now in the Netherlands. So maybe it's an add-on with this scarcity and also it's like funny to have seen this blue leaded thing in the hallway, and that you can say, oh, we do innovation.
Yeah.
This is our robotic system. And you also have this Pepper, the reception robot, where you can log in. And when we look at the usage of it, people still go to the reception when there's a person over there because they like the human touch.
They want the interaction.
So it's a great on. And if you move towards innovations, then there are also smaller improvements or innovations than just a cleaning machine.
I think you're absolutely right. And if we think back to the opening address that we had this morning, a robot can't give you a high five and make you happy, can they?
There you go.
And start that day in the right way. And I just think that smile as you walk into a building is second to none. I guess the huge topic that we're all aware of is this journey to net zero, which I think everyone believes is the right thing to focus on. Ultimately, we are responsible for what will happen to our children and our grandchildren, and in fact, their children going forward. In terms of North America, what sort of things are you doing in that sort of space?
Well, I think it's everything, from, utility management, whether that being electric, gas, water, whatever those are, how we can make better use of the resources we have and how we can drive down utility usage on behalf of our clients. But I think the discussion's way bigger than that. It's about, the new building of the future and what that's going to look like and the space we're going to exist in. I mean, there's probably 20 hours worth of podcasts we can do on this whole subject and never get to what the answer is. I think we've got a whole group of people that are trying to go 70 miles an hour at the minute to try to get to a solution, when actually I don't think the solution exists today. And I think that's why I said earlier, this whole program is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And there's things that we don't know today that are going to benefit us, but we're not going to know that for a few more years yet until somebody's discovered those and we start to implement those. Yeah. So I think it being on the agenda is the right thing. I think planning for it and coming up with strategies of how we can better execute and support our clients is the right thing. But I don't think we have the answer yet. I think the answer is going to evolve over time. Yeah. But we will get there, because what's going to come after net zero? Because then people are going to say, well, we want -10, we want -20, we want -50. So again, I just don't think the whole thing's baked in yet. But I think we have to be it has to be front and center of our agendas.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Jacqueline, what's your view for the Netherlands?
Yeah, well, in the Netherlands, it's a very vibrant theme because we just had elections, and there was really a statement over there for a party that is for the farmers saying, slow it down somewhat because we are now maybe going too fast in our ambitions on sustainability. And when you see where the highest impact is, that's on the food part, that's on the dairy, and that's on the meat. So there you can make large steps into putting down a smaller footprint on CO2. Yeah. And we have what we call green thread, that's called NULA. It's our race to zero. And this is our way of thinking and acting in everything what we do. That's also in FM, in the products we use, in the way we encounter our personnel and people, scarcity of personnel. Yeah. Just be very thoughtful of how you use the planet and how you encounter people. Working towards, but I agree with you, you can need more specific steps in towards where you want to go to land there. But again, on food, we can make much larger steps than on the FM part, but we need to be there as well.
No, absolutely.
And there needs to be a balance in that. You brought up the farmers. It's not often that the Netherlands makes headline news in the US,
Exactly.
but it has been lately
Yeah.
kind of thing with the demonstrations that have
Exactly.
been going on here.
Yeah.
And that's why there needs to be a balance.
Yeah.
It's not like you just can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly.
You've got to kind of do over time, and you've got to create that balance.
No,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
also you got to seduce instead of
Mhm.
say you can't anymore, because we all drive electrical now. All our colleagues have an electrical car. We work in a BREEAM certified building. So we are contributing, but it's a journey and you can't do everything at once.
No,
So,
I guess to summarize, certainly around net zero, it's a huge ambition. I think each of our countries is absolutely focused on it, and we recognize the importance of it. In the UK, it is science-based targets. So we're trying to set a target pre-pandemic and then working to drive out our carbon emissions based on that target that we've set. But although it's a huge ambition, it's actually not a difficult conversation to have with clients, which I think is beautiful, because invariably, you can talk about many other topics and everyone has a different view. I think predominantly it's a view that everybody supports, that, we need to drive out our carbon emissions because for benefits of our
exactly.
planet and, as I said, our children going forward.
Right. But even better, when you don't have a plan and an ambition on this, it's also a knockout in the bids we get. So you need to be there
Absolutely.
and make a difference. Otherwise, the clients won't select you because
Absolutely.
it's just a no-brainer.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Without further ado, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank
No,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. And as always, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for more incredible content.